so you want to know how to get rid of your stock radio, this one right here, and move to something aftermarket like that. You know, it's a digital media receiver. It's Kenwood, Bluetooth, got satellite radio, the whole 9 yards. You want to figure out how to do all that? Well then, we're going to show you right after this. Alright, so to get this radio out of here, you're going to need a couple tools. You're going to need some wire splicers, along with some butt connectors. I use the blue ones. You can use the heat shrink ones if you want. For this, they're not necessary because they're not going to be getting wet. For a factory radio, most likely you're going to need the little tools. They should have came with the vehicle that you're that you bought, or you can pick these up at Walmart for like $4. So basically, with those tools needed, what you're going to do, now I already have this radio already kind of pulled out a little bit, just because I already had an aftermarket radio in here, okay, and this one won't slide in all the way to let me show you how to do it. So here was my aftermarket. It was a flip out DVD player, but my volume control knob went out on me, so bought a new radio, we're swapping it out. Okay, so what you're going to need, you're going to need your removal tools. And you're going to stick these removal tools in the holes here. They have like little grooves on them, okay? Hopefully it's like little notches. And what they do is you'll go in here, and what I like to do is when I push them in, you'll feel like a little click, and then what I do is I push these outwards, okay, away from the radio. And when you push out, you also pull, and what it does is it locks onto the radio and it pulls it out, okay. Then you can remove them and all that. But just as a little explanation of what it does is when you get in here and you push it in here, whoop, wrong hole. When you push it in here, it moves these little clips in here like that, right? There's the click that I felt, and as you push away from the radio, it pushes those little clips in, and then it unlocks it from your metal housing that's inside your dash that holds your radio. So basically, once you get that out of there, you can set those tools wherever you need them. And you might have to play with the wiring a little bit. Now, on some vehicles, on some trucks, you may have to remove these panels, and you may have other stuff to get at this radio, but most likely you get those clips, you put them in there, and you can pull the radio right out. So what you have is you have your clip, you just unclip them, and this one can always be a pain in the butt, but you just push in the two little tabs right here, kind of wiggle it out, and it'll pull out. You can set that radio off to the side because now she's no longer needed. Now, one thing you will need that I forgot to mention, to do an aftermarket radio, you're going to need the aftermarket wire loom here. And what this does is this will plug into this clip here, and then you butt connector this, like how I had this one done. You butt connector all the wires to your radio harness, okay? So that'll be joined up like there. I just cut them apart. I'm going to have to cut the electrical tape off and re-butt connector all these wires in here. But basically that would plug in like that, would power your radio, okay? Okay, so what you can do is you can set that off to the side now. You have your wires hanging, you have your radio antenna coming out. Now because I have an aftermarket stereo system on my dash, if I can reach in here, sometimes I can fill them, sometimes I can't. I have to grab my RCAs and my amp power, which also you will need a screwdriver, which I don't have handy right now, but you'll need the screwdriver to help you get this piece out, because you won't need this for your aftermarket, or this one will stay with whatever radio you took out of your dash, whether it be already an aftermarket radio. Now if it already had an aftermarket radio, you won't need those tools. You need a screwdriver to get in here and bend all these little tabs. They can be bent up Some of them are hard. They can be bent up like that, and what they do is they lock into your different paneling. So if you already have an aftermarket radio, you slide your radio out and get that screwdriver in there and bend all your tabs out to get this out, because each radio is different. So we're going to go ahead and open up the new radio here. So I guess we can say this is an unboxing as well, okay? For the Kenwood KMM BT322U, okay? So you get in here, and right off the bat, you get, what is this? This is a microphone for the radio, because you can place phone calls when you sync up your phones to it. I don't ever use them. I use my Bluetooth headset. So basically, this, trash. You have your wiring harness. This is the wiring that I was telling you that you hook up to your aftermarket plug. So when they come, as you can, let me pull it out of this plastic real quick. The wires are cut smooth. You just basically take off about 1/4 inch of wiring, okay? Maybe a little bit less of wiring. Sometimes some wiring harnesses are actually notched out and they're already like pre-cut, so you just pull them off and you're good to go. I'll throw that away. Set this off to the side because we're going to need this for this radio. And of course, every one of these is different. So if you already had an aftermarket radio, 9 times out of 10, unless you got the same exact radio, you're not going to be able to use it because they're different, okay? So you will need that for their radio. Unless you happen to buy the same exact radio, you know, you're not going to be able to use that. So other than that, and for aftermarket radios, you will get your removal tools. These are the exact same thing as those other ones, except for with this one I'll show you on this radio, because that one didn't come with them either. I bought that radio used, and that was a mistake. I only had it for like 2 months. But they work the same way. You slide them in the side of the radios, and it releases those clips and allows you to pull it out. So we'll set those off to the side for right now. Then of course, you get all your paperwork that nobody ever reads. You can go ahead and pull your radio out. Empty box. Go ahead and leave the styrofoam. Wow, this thing is really small. Really small. Wow. I've never actually owned one of these, what is it, the digital media? Remote media? Digital media receivers. Never had one of these before. This is the first. I've always bought ones that, you know, CD players, in-dash DVD players, whatever. So they got all your plastic coverings and all that. That's all trash. You do have a front faceplate. It's recommended to remove this because you're going to be pushing and pulling and stuff like that on the radio. So remove that for right now and just kind of set it off to the side, somewhere where you're not going to lose it. And like I said, every radio comes with one. And what this does, let me put this back in here, is when this is locked in, okay, picture this is in your dash. Now you're going to take this tool here and it's going to slide right in here like this. And it's good. Sometimes you got to play with it, but it'll slide right in here. And all it does is it pushes up this little lever, so that way you can pull it right off and pull your radio out of the dash. So always save these. Never get rid of them because they work. Now if you buy a used car, you buy a used truck, since we're doing this in a semi, you get a truck already has a used radio, flat tip screwdrivers work pretty good. They do the same thing. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this radio, and like I said how it was small, look how long that is compared to a normal stereo. It's almost doubled. It's crazy. Like I said, this is the first for me. So for right now, we're gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. But it is a removable face, so you can also set this off to the side if you want as well. So that way, when you're pushing, you don't damage the faceplate or your main display. So you're gonna set that off to the side. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this piece here, and you're gonna feed all your wiring right through the center of it. Okay. Your antenna wire, don't forget your antenna wires, your remote wires, your RCA wires, your main wiring harness, the whole 9 yards. You're going to pull everything out. Guide it right through the center. That's for my GPS. Make sure all that's pulled out, and then you're just going to slide this in, just like so. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your screwdriver, and you're going to find little tabs that you can push down. Give me 1 second while I grab my screwdriver. Okay, so now we got our screwdriver. The small one works, it doesn't matter. But what you're going to do is you're going to get in here, and you're going to just push these tabs down. One on each side, however many you want. I usually do the bottom. I do 1 and 2 on the bottom. Sometimes I'll go to these third ones. Like these little metal tabs are right here. Some of those will work. Just push them in wherever you can get them. The more you push in, the harder it's going to be for somebody to pull it out, or for yourself to pull it out. So if you live in a good area, you ain't got to worry about nobody taking your radio. 1 or 2 should work, just to help hold it in there so it doesn't vibrate out. If you live in a bad area, you might want to push them all in there. Make it a little bit harder. But the way I figure it, if somebody's going to take the radio, they're going to find a way. They're going to take the whole dash piece off. They're going to, you know, take the radio. They're going to break it, whatever. So I push a couple in there just to hold it so it doesn't vibrate out. And with that said, we're going to set that off there. And like I said, what I'm going to do is we're going to take this along with the new wiring harness, and we're going to butt connector these wires together. So I'll be doing that, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that we're back with the magic of TV and editing, we're all wrapped up. We're all butt connected together. I ended up leaving 1 wire, which is for my amplifier here, which I forgot to splice on this one. So let me go ahead and splice this one real quick. Just in case you don't know, you use the inside one. Some of them are on the outside, some of them are on the inside. But basically you want just about a 1/4 inch of wiring, kind of twisted up there. Like this one here, I got twisted here. Now if you're asking about the electrical tape, I just like to have all my wires nice and neat. That's why I don't have any wires hanging out of my dash except for my cell phone wires, which I have tucked behind my panels here. I don't like a lot of wires anywhere. Not OCD, but it's just a pet peeve, I guess you can say. So basically, the easiest way to butt connector these wires, if you've never butt connected, obviously you'll need to know this to do all this. But you can twist your wire, you strip it down about a 1/4 inch, give or take. You twist your wire, you push it on there, and you pinch it down. That one missed a little bit, didn't get the metal in there, so that one redid it. And then what I do is I give it just a little bit of a tug, not hard. You don't want to rip it off the wire, you don't want to rip the wire, stuff like that. Give it a little bit of a tug, just to make sure that when stuff's moving around, it's not just going to fall out. And you do the same thing with your other wire here. Plug that wire in there. Grab your connectors here. And you pinch it down, okay? Once you pinch it down, give it a little bit of a tug, you're good to go. Now this one here, because it's hanging out of the dash, that one will be fine like that. I'm going to go ahead and tape this up a little bit as well. Just tape the butt connector on there just so it doesn't, so anything else that's moving behind there doesn't happen to grab my wiring. Just sit there and tape the wire down. And I do this too because with it being a remote wire, it will, it may have power in there to arc out if, you know, if the wire touches something ground, if it falls out of the butt connector. Now I almost forgot, all these wires here, they're color coordinated, or color coordinated. So you got your greens, your whites, your purples, and your grays. Those are all your speakers for the fronts, for driver and passenger side, and for the back driver and passenger side. What those do, a lot of them, I forgot to show you. Let's see if this one has it still. No, I taped it up. They do label them from time to time. This radio wasn't actually, or the wiring harness that came with this radio was not labeled, other than for the remote power antenna, which is what I use for my amp wire, and the remote control wire, which you can also use for an amp, I've been told. I don't know 100% on that one, but I know those are for the steering wheel controls. Okay, so they labeled those, and you're good to go. Basically match the colors, and on your greens and on your whites and on your purples and on your grays, you have 2 wires of each color, or 2 wires of the green, 2 wires of the white, etc. One of them will have a black line down them. Those black lines are your negative wires, positive wires, depending on however somebody hooks them up. So what you want to do is you want to just make sure green with the black stripe gets connected to green with the black stripe, etc., etc., for all those other colors. So basically, once you're all wired up here, now if you don't have an amplifier or a subwoofer and stuff like that, you don't even have to worry about this remote control wire or the power antenna wire. You can, if you have an actual power antenna on your car, hook it up to your wiring harness here. But because I don't have one, don't need it. So basically, once you get done with that, you can sit here and you can plug your wiring harness back in. Okay, get that all plugged in there. Make sure you have access to your antenna wire here. Now with this wiring harness, I don't need this other wire anymore, because this is for the factory microphone that's over here. You probably won't even be able to see it, but it's for the factory radio, because I was able to use, hands-free with the stereo that was in here. So with that being said, let me push these wires back a little bit, just so they're not hanging out everywhere. Then you're going to grab your radio, and this one here is really light. This one, sometimes you'll have RCA wires coming off of here, just in case, for stuff like this, for your amplifiers. Some of them, like my other aftermarket radio I had in here, has for like video in and video out for like remote reverse cameras and so on. So this one here, basically, you plug your wire right into the back of the radio. Okay. Now this radio is going to sit like this. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of tuck these wires in here just a little bit, just so I can gain access here. Go ahead and plug in your antenna. Okay, so make sure your radio antenna wire is plugged in there good. Then you're going to grab your RCA wires if you have a subwoofer. Then you're going to plug these in here. Make sure you plug them in the right one. Some of them are for your rear speakers, your front speakers, your subwoofers, stuff like that. They all have they're all should be labeled, which this one here is labeled right here. It's kind of hard to read, but it is labeled. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sit here and tuck all your wiring back into your dash. And this is the fun part, because sometimes it doesn't want to go very easily. Now with this radio not being very big and really light, it's easy to kind of move around. And what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of line it up in here. Then you're going to push it in place like so. Now as you can tell, it's kind of a little loose in there. So what I need to do is I'm going to pull this radio back out and push the tabs up. Push them up, maybe a couple more in there. So just to show you how easy this is, actually it's already wanting to come out just with that one. Ba-bang, you're done. Now I don't know where that ba-bong came from, but you kind of get my point. So I'm going to put the camera down here real quick while I readjust this, and we'll come back to you. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we got those repositioned up there now. So you put your radio in here. And I think it's some of my wiring. This one will be a little bit on the looser side, but I did kind of mess this up here, so we're just gonna pull that down. I do have a big gap up there, and you could pull this paneling off to try to get better access, which for my truck is pretty easy to do here. Forgot to take off my handles here. So you're gonna take these off, move this out of the way, and then I can kind of pull this. Here, you just pull this one off. Just pulls out, there we go. Then I can kind of mess around with these tabs just a little bit more. Whoop. Okay, that one there, it ain't really going anything. There's nothing for it to really grab up there. So I'm kind of stuck with that. So I'll go ahead and throw this back together real quick. Give me 1 second here. One thing that's nice about these, they just kind of push together. I know this isn't part of the video, but stuff happens. So with that being said, screw these on here so I don't forget. Okay, then you grab your faceplate and you push it into place. You grab your main cover that you originally first took off and snap it into place. And there you go. Now you're fully installed with an aftermarket radio. And just to test it out, let's make sure it works. Let me turn off this air button so it doesn't mess around. Select language. We're going to select English. There we go. Cancel demo. Yes, we're going to cancel the demo. Alright. So basically we're just going to here, let's go to source. We're on the radio. Let's find a channel here. As you can tell, we have some sound. We have volume. Now what you might want to do as well is what I will be doing is I'm going to go into the equalizer part, or into the balancing part, and go to my left front, my right front, my left rear, my right rear, and just test it out. And with that being said, now you know how to install an aftermarket radio. Okay? If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, make sure you share it, and if you hit that subscribe button to view more of my videos later on when I upload them, make sure you hit that bell. You hit that bell, that'll tell you when I upload new videos. Coming next, you'll see some blocks pop up on the window here, or on your screen. I mean, sorry, not on the window, but on the screen. You're gonna see a little bubble. If you press that bubble, that automatically gets you to my subscribe. You click one of the other little boxes, they're gonna show you some videos. One of them is probably gonna be how to install an XM satellite radio tuner to go with my new radio. So if you already watched that one, or if you clicked on that one first and you had to learn how to install a radio, now you know. If not, the link for that video will also be in the description box below. If you need to contact me for anything, all my contact info is down in that description box. So thanks again for watching. Hope you liked the video, and hope you subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.